Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is J Rock, and welcome to Distorted Realities Cabinet of Curiosities. And what do we do here? Essentially, what we do is that we collect artifacts from all parts of the world. We purchase them, we travel and find them at different stores and artisans, and we put them in our curio cabinet because they represent something historically, they represent something to us that's meaningful, and most of this stuff comes with a strange and obscure tale. Okay, so today we have two amazing items that were one was acquired in San Antonio, Texas, at a very well-known and reputable, respectable store, and the other one was one that is a flashback. It took me back in time, if you will, to a childhood in which I had the pleasure of embracing one of my horror idols. Okay, so without further ado, I guess we're gonna get this started. And for our first curio, we're gonna look at is none other than Mr. Teddy Ruxpin. So tune in now for the first part, and let's get ready.
Come dream with me tonight.
So while I'm here setting up, right, I want you to think about how these objects, right, uh, they're not just objects. They present a piece of yours and mine's and everyone's memories, right? When you buy an object that you can never forget and you hold dear, these things tend to have a very nostalgic reference, and sometimes we lose sight of that right until we get older and we see that object in all its glory, and we go, oh my god, I remember when I was 5 years old and whatnot. This one is very similar. When J Rock, yours truly, was a little J Rock, about 7 or 8 years old, I had a teddy bear, and that teddy bear was a very unique teddy bear. The teddy bear was very known at the time, a very popular toy, better known as Teddy Ruxpin, right? And what made this teddy bear so cool was that it had some autonomous features, and it was able to speak, tell a story. Its eyes and mouths would move, and the story almost felt never ending because you could always buy a new story in the form of a cassette or cartridge, and it came with a book, and it was almost like going in an adventure with a teddy bear. It was a very popular cartoon in the 80s. However, the story is a lot grimmer than it seems. But before we do that and go over the story, I'm going to first pull out the curio. In this case, it's a actual Teddy Ruxpin doll that I've acquired. And before I show you that, I want to tell you about a place in San Antonio, Texas. Okay, I went on my adventures to San Antonio. We went there to go visit my daughter's husband, and he was graduating from the Air Force, and I decided to go around and check out some sites and do distorted realities related things. And I ran into this toy store called GG's Emporium in 1716 Blanco, San Antonio, Texas. Now, what makes this toy store so unique is that they don't just sell toys that are current. They really treasure and value things of the past, right? And essentially, I've acquired two items that are for this episode. And the first one was the Teddy Ruxpin doll. Is it fully functional? No. But the fact that I found one in such a pristine condition shows that stores that do cater to this type of niche product do really well in keeping these things at heart. So if you're ever looking to purchase a toy that is meaningful to you, make sure you check out GG's Emporium in 1716 San Antonio, Texas. And if you want to shoot them an email at GG's Emporium TX at gmail.com. So check them out. I think they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, and they're amazing folks. They're always posting cool information about new toys that they've acquired. And when I say new, they're not necessarily new, they're old relic toys. Okay, so without further ado, let's go back to Mr. Ruxpin here and take a look at it. So before we even switch cameras, I'm just going to grab them, unravel the bubble wrap that was around them, and show you what the contents looks like. So here he is in all his glory. I'm just gonna remove the bubble wrap. And there's little Teddy Ruxpin. Okay, now obviously he looks like a very friendly teddy bear. And as you can see, the mouth articulates, the eyes would blink. And there was a button somewhere in the back. You would release the Velcro and you would insert the cartridge here. And once you insert the cartridge, you would press the button that's at the very top. Now, unfortunately for this one, what you're gonna hear is a lot of muffling sound. However, the fact that it still works is still quite interesting. Be warned that this sounds really disturbing, but it's still worth the try.
Then you pick the root, of course. I can tell you're not a real inventor like Gimmick and me, right, Gimmick?
But Gimmick was just staring at all of his inventions, not saying anything.
So it's quite weird. It's not like I remembered him. However, it's a relic of the past and one that I definitely will treasure always. But with my enjoyment, there's also a dark side, and we're going to talk about it next. So I'm going to place him on the shelf and give him a little spinneroo so that you can get a full 360 view of Mr. Ruxpin. And yeah, just give me a second here and we'll get things ready. So what you're seeing, and I'm going to put this now on 360 degree view, is a teddy bear pretty much fitted with animatronics, and of course a lot of stuffing, if you will, with a battery backing. I believe it's 9-volt batteries or D batteries if I recall, the cartridge slot, and a play button that's very simplistic, with the shirt being able to flip open in the back by 2 Velcro handles on the side. And of course it has almost what appears to be a red pajama with a brown vest over it, right? Now this teddy bear is quite the interesting specimen, if you will, because there is a story behind it. So many years ago, as the story goes, in 1972 in Ireland, a man owned a tavern, or just recently bought a tavern called the Ruxpin Tavern. And in that tavern, he discovered a teddy bear. And being a father who has a child, he decided to grab this teddy bear and give it to his child. And rumor has it that he gives it to the child is enamored with the teddy bear. And the teddy bear, he named it after the tavern, which was the Ruxpin Bear, right? Over time, what transpired was that the child started, like as any other kid, developing a playful relationship with its toy, loving its toy, and the father made nothing of it at first. It just so happens that over time, things got a little bit weird, because as he would walk past the room, he would hear other voices. And given that his child was in a room alone with his toys, there should be nobody else. This resulted in one day him walking into the room and seeing the teddy bear talk. Now, the legend goes that the teddy bear talks. It was able to move and do forms of articulation that was not typical of any teddy bear today. I mean, you could go to Build-A-Bear and you still won't get a walking teddy bear. You do have some talking variants because people do recordings with, as keepsakes because their parents passed away and they keep their voices on a teddy bear as a way of remembering their loved ones. But nothing like this. This was way ahead of its time. And even Teddy Ruxpin himself today, is meaning 1980s, that was a teddy bear that was far ahead of its period because it had, motor functions. It was able to articulate the movement of the mouth. The eyes would open and close. You had a story that was playing audio in the background, almost mimicking that of the teddy bear talking as if it was talking to a human being or telling it a story. The long and short of it is that this teddy bear was removed from the home, and it became a mystery as to what happened to it. But years later, from 1972 all the way to 1980, it became what we know as Teddy Ruxpin, a toy. Now, there's been some rumors about the actual teddy bear itself being a false story or a false narrative. The first time I ever heard about this was from a website called JK Cinema, which did a lot of horror storytelling. And this is way before what we call creepypastas and stuff like that. So we don't know if it's true or not. But the word Ruxpin, coming from Ireland, kind of has this real truth behind it. My personal take on Teddy Ruxpin is that in my childhood, it was a very pleasant one, right? It gave me joy. It told me stories. It did things for me as a kid that it would for any other. I never had any experience of a teddy bear getting up and doing something other than what it was supposed to do in terms of its function, so it wasn't haunted by any means. But I do know that there were people who had this teddy bear and did get rid of it because they reported that the teddy bear would speak with no batteries, or the teddy bear would tell a story with no cartridge, that kind of stuff. And of course, that is very typical of a haunted item, when they work opposite of the way they were intended to, or perceived as haunted. However, nostalgia serves its purpose for each individual person. In my case, it was a pleasant one, but for all of you, it might be something different. So what I would like for you to do is, after watching the show, if you can go to your comments and tell me what's the one thing you remember of a toy that gave you joy or gave you the creeps, right? After finding out the origin behind it. As it stands, my personal take is that Teddy Ruxpin is not a haunted creature. It might have a haunted background, but like all good things, right? They all have an origin story, and they don't always match up to the reality that we live in, right? So just give it some thought. Take one final look at Mr. Ruxpin in all his glory, because once we're done, we're going to make sure we take out the cassette, we turn him off, and we put him back in his bubble wrap and place him in his curio cabinet for future discussion points. But all in all, for me, it was a great experience. And if you had a bad one, I really would like to know if you ever owned this one. But I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was the cooler version of a Care Bear. So that's my 2 cents on the matter. But yeah, so take a look, one final spin, and we're gonna go on to the next item, which goes a lot darker than you would think. So that kind of covers it for Teddy Ruxpin. Again, share your thoughts. But for our next curio, it's far beyond, or rather, on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you will. But it is something just as interesting, and for some of us who grew up in the '80s, very, very important. And it's none other than the man, the real myth, and the legend, Freddy Krueger. So let's look at the first item that I got again from Gigi's Emporium, and it was a very interesting one, and it's none other than the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 Freddy's Revenge glove. Now, out of all gloves, this one in particular is very interesting, not because of the glove, because of what the movie represents. And let's open it up and take a look at the contents. And inside, you have the actual replica glove from part 2 of A Nightmare on Elm Street. All right, so I'm gonna close this up and then put it inside on top of the actual rollout, and then I want to show you the next piece that coincides with that. All right, so for the next item that I'm going to talk about, and this one is even nearer to me than the glove, is this really cool Nightmare on Elm Street sticker album. All right, now everybody who was a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street knows that they had to have one of these at home. This I acquired through Etsy. I'll share the link below on the video, so that when you get a chance, you can, if you're interested in purchasing them. Now the cool thing is, when you buy the book, you get 6-pack of 6 stickers each to try to fill the album up. So let's start with the book. If you look at the book, it has, a drawing and a picture of Freddy Krueger and what appears to be Heather Langenkamp, or Nancy as we know her in the movie. And then of course you have a little blip that says, be sure and collect all 264 stickers, right? And it has the nun, which is supposed to be Freddy Krueger's mom, right? And I believe that woman was the victim from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1, right? Let's open it up for a second, take a look. Of course, as you go through the sticker album, you start off on A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1, and you start plugging in the stickers, and each sticker reveals like a scene from the movie, right? And as you keep going, those stickers kind of form the sequence or reimagining of the story as if you were watching the movie. So you would put all the stickers. There was a specific version of this book that came with a full pull-out poster. Very hard to find. I haven't found one yet, but it's a different cover. And I believe it was for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. But this didn't come by itself. It also came with 6 packs of the Freddy Krueger stickers. Now there's 6 stickers in this pack. I got 6 of these. So you can do the math and pretty much figure out that you might be missing some, or you might have some duplicates. You might have to purchase more. At the Etsy shop, where I put the link below, you will see that they sell these in packs of 6. So if you want to complete the collection or have a clean copy and then have another book full with the stickers, you can purchase as many as you need. It's a very hard find and a very rare find, but we're going to talk a little bit more about this in brief as to why the book and why the glove, right? So let's now go to the box. And we're going to start it. So the box is quite big, so if it's out of frame, please forgive me there, but I want you to start looking at the box. It is a replica glove. I'm going to now take it out, and I'm gonna reveal the glove. Now, this in no way, shape, or form is considered new. I might need my assistant to help me out because my glove's not allowing me. Oh, never mind. I just don't want to damage this. I'm gonna slide it right out. Oh. So just so you know, I haven't found any one of these. If you have, let me know. This is a pre-owned version of the product, so there might be some wear and tear. Oh my god. Interesting. Do I want to switch the camera real quick? And there's the glove. And it looks like torn leather with a strap. Looks like it has a slight tear in the bottom, but it looks like it'll fit my hand just fine. So let's take a look and see how it looks on my hand. Being that I am a diehard Freddy fan, more so than Jason, I am super hyped. I've never worn a Freddy glove ever. Something I've always wanted, but my mom said that I was too dangerous of a child. Oh my god. I feel like Freddy. So it has the strap here you would tie, and you could articulate as you would. I feel like, like the old Freddy. Ha 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 ha! That kind of stuff. Might have to push it in to really grab. I could only imagine what Robert Englund would have felt using these gloves. Why don't you zoom in to I want people to see the points of articulation. Mind you, I have my white glove on. I do not want to mess this up, but it looks pretty cool. It's right next to the glove and to the book. So look at that. All right. This is true nostalgia for me, by the way. But let's go back into Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 for a second. I'm going to carefully remove my fingers from the glove. What a great find from GEG, right? Like, I think this is really worth buying. Like I said, super rare. I have never seen a part 2. So, why is it important? Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 was very different from all the other Nightmare on Elm Streets. Okay, it is very important that you understand the difference because it did address social issues, right? The first one, and a lot of people didn't realize, the AIDS epidemic in the 80s. So in the movie, Freddy Krueger wasn't trying to lure everyone into the dream world and kill them. He was trying to possess them and come out. And AIDS was that. It was something internal that was destroying you from the inside out. It was an analogy, basically, or a metaphor for what HIV and AIDS was doing in our time. Number 2, it was addressing the homophobia of the 80s. There was a lot of closeted cases of homophobia, and back then homophobia is not as socially acceptable as it is today, right? Back then there was a term used called gay bashing, where people that were homophobic or they just was against the whole gay community, they would go and find them and beat them up for being gay, which was very horrible for its time. But it was addressing this thing about carrying that emotion and the fear on both sides of the spectrum, right? Of not knowing how gay is going to affect society, a gay population was going to affect society, and more importantly, how the gays would feel if they came out. I'm glad today to say that a lot of that is old news, and that today it's a very open-ended discussion. People are free to express their individuality any which way they see fit. But at the time, it was a very prevalent issue, and a horror movie was actually showcasing that. More importantly, the final piece of the movie was really addressing internal struggles, how people deal with internal struggles. So this whole movie was based on that, right? And there was a famous quote, and only used in one movie, which is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, where Freddy's addressing Mark Patton, the actor, in the movie, the main protagonist. He says, "You got the body, but I have the brain." He controls everything that's going on. Even though you own your body, you have no control over it, which is a very interesting phrase for the movie, right? The long and short is that it wasn't my favorite movie. Not because of the issues it addressed. I thought they were important. I think that for its time, it really pointed out the finer points of society that needed to be addressed. However, Freddy for me was more of a comedic killer in a way, and he used a lot of punchlines and phrases and unique ways of killing people. And I was into that side of Freddy, right? But now that I'm older, I understand the importance of what Part 2 did. And that glove is very unique because you don't see that glove in any other version of the movie. Every glove was different, and this one was the most unique one out of the bunch, at least for me. You'll find the needle glove from Dream Warriors. People replicate them and sell them all the time. You'll find the standard Freddy glove from Part 1 and Part 3 and Part 4 and Part 5. You'll find the standard one. Then you have the blown glove from New Nightmare. So there's different varieties, but they're very common. Part 2 is the least of them all, because that one is gritty. It looks very worn and torn, and it was just very unique in that sense. So I'm really glad to hold that. And I want to talk about the sticker book. So the sticker book was important to me because I like I said, I was a diehard Freddy fan, and I remember my mom. She took me to a supermarket, and there, lo and behold, is this book. And she saw it, and I saw it, and I remember my mom picking it up and says, "You want this?" I was like, "Of course!" Like, we're horror fans, right? And when I saw the book, I just immediately thought I had to have it, right? Because it embodies, a piece of my childhood where I shared a wonderful moment with my mom. And to a lot of parents, it's a different thing, right? To a child, it might be playing baseball with their father. To some, it might be a toy collection, but to me, it was horror, because I got to sit down with my mom, and we used to watch movies. And this is one of those things that I treasure above most things, because it's something my mom got me, and I'm able to retrieve it back. And for that, I just want to say thank you, Mom, because look at this. I got the book, and I got some stickers, and I got you a copy too, so you get to enjoy it. All right. So that kind of encapsulates the Freddy Krueger mantra for me. What makes Freddy Krueger so cool is that he's a very rare specimen that resides in everyone's dreams in a town called Elm Street. He has the ability to play with your imaginations. He knows your biggest fears. He knows how to manipulate you, and even though he can't harm you in the real world, there's nothing more dangerous than harming the mind, than harming the soul. And I think that's what he represents, right? And the comical aspects of it makes it great and makes it laughable, but it's a real thought-inducing process, right? You have to think about this, and there's a quote, right? The oldest and strongest form of emotion is fear. The strongest and most important fear is the fear of the unknown, right? And that's what Freddy is. He is the question mark. He is the unknown. It's not like Jason. We know that he is a serial killer or a killer that grabs a machete and kills people, but he's a very physical, real being versus someone who you can't see in reality. He plays inside here, And there's nothing more destructive than something that can destroy your thoughts and your inner feelings. So that's my 2 cents on Mr. Fred Krueger and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Take one last look, guys, at the glove. At the sticker book, there's some stickers laying there. And I'm glad that I'm able to share this with you guys, and I hope you find it enjoyable. So there you have it, folks. You have an interesting set of pieces, some of which are part of, a person's childhood. Another one of, it's a movie iconic staple that has had the same effect without it being considered haunted or destructive in any manner. If you saw Mr. Valentine's Freakishly Frightening Facts, he does speak on the true story behind this. So you might want to go back and revisit that. And you'll find that the story is a lot more creepy than the actual movie. And like he says, every town has an Elm Street, which is another true statement, believe it or not. I want to give you a takeaway, and it's that a lot of these things that we buy and we purchase don't just become objects of use. They can represent a piece of our history, a piece of nostalgia, a moment in our lives where it gave us joy, excitement, fear. It was part of something important. These objects just so happen to be important in an obscure way. So do me a favor, on the chat, in the video chat, you please do me a favor, just put in what you found to be very weird, strange, or obscure, and we'll try to find it and put it in our cabinet of curiosities and make it a discussion point. With that being said, this is J-Rock. Do not be afraid to venture out to the world. Find your curio and treasure it. I'll talk to you next time. J-Rock signing out.